Hey guys, how's it going? This is Craig Connelly here. Welcome back to my studio and welcome back to my vlogs. So a little while back when I was on tour, I was regularly making these vlog videos for you guys, showing you a little bit of an insight into my life on tour as I travel, as I make music and whatnot. Unfortunately, they got cut short because, of course, the whole of Clubland has shut down. But I'm going to be bringing them back and talking about all the things that's been going on in my life since this lockdown happened and what's coming up in the future as well. So of course I released an album in May and also have the amazing news that I'm going to become a father, so we have a lot to talk about just with those two things alone. Plus I'm going to show you guys an insight into how I do the screening. There's going to be a lot of talk about how I made all the recent music which I've been releasing, the different music videos we've had, and of course what's coming up in the future as well as we get back on the road. So yeah, I'm glad to be back on the vlogs. I'm glad to be showing you guys a little bit about my life once again. So this particular vlog, as the title suggested, is all about the track All For Love, which was just released with Siskin, and it features on my album A Sharper Edge, which is right there, available right now from all good streaming and download portals. A little cheeky promotion there. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about this track in particular today, and I actually have an interview with Siskin, with the guys themselves, and we're going to be going back and forth talking about the production process, talking about how they wrote the lyrics and helped to contribute with the music and production as well. And I'm going to show you guys, of course, 2 or 3 different stages of the production, from the initial ideas on the computer screen with just scraps of chords, melodies, how they evolved into what you hear today, and then I'm going to take you into the finished full session of All For Love with all the finished parts, all the different synths, drums, and talk about how that evolves into that finished piece of music. And also show you a little bit about the music video. So lots to talk about. Let's get stuck right in. This is an interview with Siskin. Let's check it out. Okay, you're here with me, Craig Connelly, and I have got on this video call Siskin, which is Suzanne Chesterton and Sue McLaren. And we're going to talk a little bit about our track All For Love, which is one of my favorites I've ever made, actually, and really good to make it with you guys. And we're going to give the fans a little bit of an insight into how we did it. So I'm going to hit you with the first question, because you guys together are a relatively new act. So who exactly is Siskin, and what was the inspiration for creating your group?
Me and Sue met actually at Gatecrasher a couple of years ago, but I've been working with Paul van Dyk on his radio show now for about 4 or 5 years, so I'm very familiar with Sue's work, because a lot of the stuff that Paul does is on the albums and stuff. He likes to work with Sue McLaren. So I met her at Gatecrasher a couple of years back, and it was just so lovely to put a face to the name. And I was telling her all the stuff that we've been doing on Paul van Dyk's radio show, and including all the tracks and everything. And that night I'd actually got one of my own tracks. It was the first track that I ever released, called Antus with Richard Lowe, and Solar Stone was going to play it at Gatecrasher that night. So he went off to play it, and I played the track to Sue and said, "Wow, Sue, listen to this. This is my track. I can't believe I'm finally going to have it played in a nightclub." And Sue listened to it and started singing along to it, of something completely that I'd never thought of as a melody and a song to my track. And I was just absolutely blown away. So we agreed to keep in touch, and we did. So we kept in touch, and then about a couple of months later I had a phone call with Sue, and she suggested getting together to kind of form a group using my production skills, her brilliant vocal ideas. She was getting right into the production side as well, and so she wanted to come across, and we've basically spent so much time in the studio between us both, learning different skills, and we just work really, really well together. Do you want to fill in, Sue? Anything that I missed out?
Oh, I think you did really well there. Yeah, exactly that. I think I just kind of I've been writing so many top lines for lots of different artists and things like that, and I just I'd done production years ago and not this kind of music, and I just really want to get back into it. And I think I was just mindful there were very few women producers that were in the scene, and I guess we talked about that a little bit, thinking it'd be good to be a little bit more visible as women who are producing and writing, and maybe that might encourage more younger, you know, women or older women or whatever into the scene, just to kind of have a little bit more maybe visibility, I guess, in that sense.
And I see a lot of, like, you know, we see a lot of vocalists as females in the scene, but you don't see many as the original artists in the scene as well. So it's good that this kind of group combines the both. You know, both of you brings your own kind of thing to the table, and it's like it's all a female group, isn't it? Rather than it's like a DJ with a collaboration or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, I've met so many vocalist songwriters, because they're, you know, some vocalists are songwriters, some vocalists sing other people's songs, and I've just met so many people over the years, and I guess maybe I've also seen them get a little bit, I don't know, a little bit jaded, or a little bit of sense that there's not necessarily a way in for them, you know, a way in for them to get the live shows, a way in for them to progress with their careers. And so I guess we were just looking to try and find new ways to feel more included in the scene, yes, and just to really enjoy the music, of course.
Of course, you know? Yeah, and I like the idea as well, and I liked like this collaboration really did feel like a whole joint effort between the three of us, because, like, you know, sometimes the way I've worked in the past is I send a demo to a vocalist and they write on the top of it. But in this occasion, I sent it was really just rough chords, wasn't it? I mean, there wasn't any production there. I was really happy when I got back a slight variation of that. So there wasn't just the chords that I sent, and then we got melodies from you guys as well. And I thought, oh, well, I now have like an idea for a main melody from the notes that you sent. So on All for Love, the main arpeggiator is literally taken from a line which you guys wrote, isn't it? I made it into that, like, you know, Craig Connelly style kind of subculture-esque 16th note melody. So yeah, that was actually my second question. But when I sent you the rough demo, like, what was your experience of it? Like, where did you go first in your ideas between the two of you?
Well, so I remember seeing you at Creamfields, and you'd sent over the MIDI to Sue, and I promised you, I mean, me and Sue had been really busy at that point, and I was like, right, I promise you, Craig, I'm going to get something over to you within the next week or so. So when I got back, it was the next day. So I got the MIDI out, and it was looping round and round, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and play it out. So I got my piano, which is in front of me. You can't see it now, but it's just at the back.
I've got one here as well.
It's like there.
I've got a keyboard here too.
So anyway, so I started just playing it on the piano, and I closed my eyes, and what I tend to do with stuff is just see where it takes me, and I just play. So I got the chords, and I was just playing and having a mess around with them, and then all of a sudden it turned from a 4-bar loop into like an 8-bar to a 16-bar, and I just played it in. I was like, that's amazing. So I just put it in, plugged in my middle leads, recorded it in. And then I put some strings behind it, and a little arpeggiators and stuff like that. Just brought it to life. It took me about best part of half a day, I think. And then I just sent it over to Sue and crossed my fingers that she'd like it. And I'm like, what did you think? Did you think of this to Craig? And within an hour, she got back and she's singing over the top of it. And it was literally there. I nearly cried. It was just amazing. She just knows what to do with it. And then after she'd done that, we then worked on the production a bit, sent it over to you, and crossed our fingers again that you'd really like it, and you did. So
exactly. It happened so quickly. I was going to say, it just really happened that naturally and that quickly. I think once it expanded from the 4 bars, and it just had a bit of a life of its own, and literally that vocal the whole thing just came out in about half an hour. And I always find myself, if something falls out really quickly like that, it's generally a good thing. If I'm spending too long and nothing's coming, then sometimes, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to flow as well.
That's so true. Like the tracks that I've had the most success with are the ones which I've not tried hard, but when I've been writing it in the writing stage where they haven't been forced, or like just an idea that I had when I wasn't trying to write a track. I think when I wrote this album, like I wrote so much music to begin with that none of them had a vocal or an idea or a production or a sound. It was just music. It was just like, 20 chord sequences or whatever. And the best ones are always ones where I just sit down at it and I'm just plonking along and something really organic comes out.
Exactly.
And I remember when, like, it's funny you said that, because when you sent that collection of, you know, Suzanne's chords and melodies and Sue's vocals over to me, I immediately knew. I was like, this is a hit. Like, this is huge. Like, it's massive. And it was the bit right at the end of the demo where Sue starts singing the Awful Love line. I was like, that's it. That's all you need. That is literally perfect.
Yeah.
And I could hear it in my head from there. I was like, this is going to be massive. So, yeah.
I've got goosebumps now, just thinking about all of that, how it all came together.
It was, yeah.
And when you sent it back, oh my God, when you put that intro on, I was like, that is just heavenly. It was just absolutely beautiful.
I think just before I started this process, I bought some new software. I mean, over the last year since I moved in here, I bought all kinds of things, like a mixer, like didn't really need, like more synthesizers, a brand new iMac. But I bought, you know, Omnisphere, Ultrasonics. So all those layers are from that, the different, like, I think I go into the psychoacoustic section. It's all stuff which is like, it's like someone would like hit a piano with a hammer and then tune that and make a different soundscape out of it. And there was actually, I'm quite like into sci-fi movies, and one of them is the sound, and this isn't like an illegal sample. This is a sample that you can download for free. Someone's uploaded sounds from NASA that they've released as a free sound library, and it's something like the sound. It's the sound of Jupiter. The sound that the radiation from Jupiter or something. It's on YouTube, so I just ripped it off YouTube, and it was license free. So there you go. It's in the tube. Wow. There we go. But yeah, awesome.
So the track's out there in the whole universe now.
It is, yeah, it is. It suits the kind of theme of the album, and you know, that's what I'm into. And so the final production was good.
It was really exciting.
Good stuff. So yeah, I mean, okay, I guess we wanted to ask you, Sue, both of you, about the lyrics. Like, what are the lyrics about? Like, do they resonate with you about a particular thing that's happened in your life, or?
Well, you know, that's a funny one. Sometimes I really set on a theme, and sometimes I just sing whatever comes out of my mouth. And on this occasion, it was just literally a lot of it just kind of fell out as I was looking for a melody. So the chorus kind of, and the pre-chorus just kind of literally just came out, and I just spent a bit more time on thinking about how the verse kind of would fit with that. Yeah. And I guess it was just about the universality of, you know, love often doesn't run smoothly, that it's almost like going with the tough times as well as when it's good, and just being all in. I guess it's about, you know, just being with it, and if something comes at you, just stick together and kind of get through it. It was that kind of sentiment, really. And then kind of finding some words that weren't, I don't know, I'm a bit funny with words. I like them to have meaning, but I don't like them to be also not too throwaway, that to just kind of the same things that come around again. And I guess I always look for lyrics myself in songs, or often something can draw me in, but if the lyrics are too throwaway, then it kind of puts me off. So I kind of felt it had to have sufficient kind of meaning to fit the track, I guess.
Yeah, I love the lyrics as well, you know, and you're definitely right. Like, if anybody's in a relationship, you know, relationships don't run smoothly, but if you give it your all, you know, you can have something really rewarding at the end of it. So yeah, I can totally get that, and I think the fans resonate with that as well. As well, you know, definitely. Wanted to ask you guys, like, what was your first memories of trance music? Like, what was the first trance record either of you ever heard, bought on record, on vinyl, or CD, or tape, or anything, or anything? Like, you know, what was the first track where you thought, oh my God, this music's amazing?
Well, when I was younger, so my dad, he was a big Vangelis, Jean-Michel Jarre fan. And he had like loads and loads of records, and we used to listen to them all the time and record them onto tape. He had this CD collection as well called Synthesizers, and it had things like popcorn music on, and gosh, it was brilliant. So I was brought up with that. I also really liked Metallica, heavy metal music. I was a massive music fan. I used to play the guitar, I used to play piano. So I was all growing up kind of just in everything. And then I think it was about 1996, and I heard the first trance song that I ever heard was Café Del Mar. And it was so good. So I was listening to it on some kind of compilation, you know, where you used to go in and buy them from HMV, and used to come home with a CD and not really know what every track was, but you kind of knew like little ones. It was a bit like that. So I put it in the CD player, and I remember taping it to tape there and then, because I wanted to run across to my friend's house and just play him this incredible track that I just heard. And it was just like combining everything that I'd ever loved. And then after that, I remember it was the Euphoria compilations. Can you remember the Euphoria ones, Craig?
Yeah, I had many. Yeah, I had. I'll come to my memory in a minute, but it's pretty similar thing. It's 1998. My first girlfriend listening to Breakdown Euphoria in a bedroom, and like Insomnia, Cafe Del Mar, Saltwater by Chicane.
I used to absolutely love it. So Euphoria collections, I think it was mixed, but it was the green one. It was the first one that came out, and it had Binary Finery on it, and it had Paul van Dyk, For an Angel on it, and various other ones. And it was I was going to university that year, and I got this little Fiesta, and it was like the soundtrack to my life. So I'd plug in the tape, you get to the end, I'd turn it round again, and literally that's all I did, just turn them tapes around and listen to them to university, because I was in Chester at the time, and then back to my mum and dad's, and that was like literally the soundtrack to my life. And then I discovered Gatecrasher, and then the rest is history.
Good. By yourself, Sue?
Wow, I've not actually thought about this. I was really late to trance, and I probably didn't even, because I've always written songs, I've always kind of done maybe more folky or left field. I used to like a lot of trip hop and that kind of stuff.
Like left field, Rashfordism, stuff like that.
Yeah, so that was kind of more my kind of thing. And I think I kind of fell into it. I probably didn't even know what trance was. I wouldn't have been able to identify it as a genre.
What was your first trance release, Sue?
I think it was 2010. I was doing some session vocals. I put myself online on a Sound on Sound magazine. I used to get that all the time. And I just kind of offered my services to do like top lines or session vocals for people. And I ended up doing a track for someone, and then they said, Sue, your voice would suit trance really well. And I was like, really? Oh, and then before I knew it, I was like doing a track with Ali and Fila back in 2009-10, and I was like absolutely hooked. I don't know. I don't know if I'd never. So trance kind of found me rather than me finding trance. I just have never looked back. I don't think I'd realised how just how good it makes you feel. And I just think that feeling connected especially when you're in a club or something like that. My brother, who's like a lot younger, loved this stuff. I used to think, oh my God, what's he listening to? Because I'd be like listening to Radiohead or something like that. Really grungy, depressing stuff. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, why did I not feel this or hear this?
I'm glad it did find you, because you're like one of my favourite vocalists, and can't remember which one was the first one I started playing. I played Lights still today, so.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've done 2 now, and now the second one obviously with Susan Chesterton on board as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to talk to you about All for Love.
Oh, you're very welcome, and congrats on the album again.
Cheers, nice one.
Congrats.
No worries. Okay.
All right, guys. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. So there we have it. That was a little interview with Suzanne Chesterton and Sue McLaren, 2 really great artists that I've admired over the years. I'm going to jump now into a little bit of a screen grab section where I'll be showing you guys the ideas and how they come about step by step onto the finished product. Here we go. Okay, this was the first idea that I sent to Siskin. It was basically just this loop of 16 bars of this kind of plucky melody. So that was it. It was pretty simple. Often when I'm working with a vocalist, I'll send them more of a filled out demo. But since I knew that Sue was working with Suzanne Chesterton as well, I just felt like I should just leave it open to their interpretation and see which way it comes back, and it came back like this. So this little WAV sample we're looking at here is what they worked on and sent back to me, and it's from here that we end up with the original chords. So this was a fascinating combination where I sent them some chords and a melody, they sent back their interpretation of that, and then I worked on my interpretation of that. So this is what they sent back to me.
Let the cold wind blow and lightning strike. Everything falls into line. Let the stillness stays and the poem voice. Everything turns always sighs because love wants to feel everything. Because love wants to feel everything.
So that was the first time that I heard those additional chords which they put on at the end, which turned out to be the main chorus and drop chords from the track. So it was kind of like in between two worlds now. They'd used the first chord sequence I'd used, and then they created their own for the rest of the vocal. So from there, they also sent over a vocal stem. I'm going to play you a little bit of how I changed that, what they sent, into what you hear today. You could hear hints of that melody in there, the piano bit, but I'll just play it from here. See if it's the right level. So what I did is I took the chords, I made that one longer, this third chord here, and the top line piano had some great ideas in it, and I basically made it into this comped version. So every single little run per every 2 bars had roughly the same rhythm in it. I kind of feel that those types of things are important to not have too much variation in these kind of top lines. But there we are. I mean, we have the verse section here over the original chords. Now we have a chorus chords and the drop chords, and then it was just time then to marry it to the melody. And going back to the first melody and chords I sent them, I actually had this in the meantime, which I didn't send to them. It's just something I worked on a different day, and it's a pluck version, like a 16th pluck version of the original. So let's just have a quick listen to this. So as you can see, you're starting to hear now how All for Love the kind of final riff came together, and then it was just a case of marrying this new chorus to that kind of 16th riff idea, and what we end up with is this. We have our chord ideas, we have our vocal stem, we have our top line, and then we have our main riff. So I'm going to switch now into the full final session. Okay guys, this is the final session. It's all been nicely color-coded and grouped into different tracks. I like to keep things organized. It really helps me mix these big tracks down. So from top to bottom we've got, that's all the vocal tracks. See here, this is the main vocal.
Sail tonight, let the storms break, while waters high.
I should mention by this point, it's already been passed through my SSL mixer where I do some EQ and compression on it, and I've actually done a little bit of tuning, not much because Sue's pretty much bang on. There's some timing as well. I do a lot of making sure each syllable is marked onto the beat by using these markers. This is Pro Tools version of it. Ableton Live is a very similar thing, as do all of them these days. But yeah, that's the vocal sections. There's some harmonies and backing tracks here as well. You might not be able to hear those in the final mix, but this is what it sounds like combined. So there's a few of those that go on in the track. Moving down, here is all the synthesizer tracks. This includes piano tracks as well. So what have we got in here? We have, these are some of the intro noises that I talked about in the interview. So NASA noise. Just add some like ambience, some other stuff I've got. Oop, it's not playing for some reason. I'm not using that one. I'll actually turn that one down. I mustn't be using that. I think I used this in the album mix, but not in the extended mix. Some crackly sounds. Some kind of like windy pad thing. I got a lot of these sounds from this program called Omnisphere. It's like a synthesizer and a sampler combined. It's a whole range of different sounds, different textures and atmospheres. It's very good for sound designing. Some more ambient sounds here. So that's kind of the main one you hear at the start of All For Love on the album. These plinky tracks is actually, I think, a piano run which are designed. It's like a piano with bell type sound in the background. I really like these piano kind of runs. Filter opens up on those. Love that stuff. Go back up to these in a second, but we also have some basic saw pads. Open them up. To give you some depth. It's a piano sounding pad. It's another type of saw pad there. Moving on to the synth. So the lead is 5 layers. Worked very hard to get these to all sit together with the pads. So we're going to list these all together. These 5 synths. using I use Serum a lot. Lower, plucky with a bit crushing, quite open, lower sound, super soft sound there, and then we have the piano now in its full production form. That comes from Nexus. Very popular rompler, and also I use this called Piano Tech. It's good for emulating pianos, real pianos. And then we come on to all these main plugs. So there's 5 layers again. 5's not really like a rule. It's just, I think just in this track it ended up being this way. The sound of this track is kind of like that big uplifting subculture sound, big arpeggiators. So let's have a listen from here. I think that sound gives pretty much like the bread and butter to it. That's like the main. Something a bit buzzy at the top. Cool. I'm just gonna have a look at some of these bass sounds. So the bass, use a variety of things. I actually have a Moog here. Little bass synthesizer. It's good for bass and acids and like mono leads. It's good for filling up a lot of the frequencies in the bass sections. I'll have to show you a video on this synthesizer. It's pretty cool. Got some mid basses here which fill out the space in the middle. Sub sound as well. Altogether they work quite well. I'm going to put the kick in as well so you can hear it. That's the kick drum. I've got this tiny little tap on it as well, just to give it a touch more sharpness. When it all kicks in, obviously with the chord changes, so it sounds a bit different. And for these mid basses and sub, I'm pretty much using stuff I've made myself. Apart from this occasion, that's a preset from somewhere I've altered quite heavily. But yeah, a lot of stuff I make myself, or I'll edit presets quite heavily these days. The Moog stuff I make it all myself because there just isn't any presets for it. I'll take you onto the drums now. So I have a clap and a snare laid together. And they've just come from sample packs which I've rendered down time and time again into different formats, you know, and used them in different tunes. They tend to work very well with each other, I find. Where does that snare come from? So that's a Dave Parkinson Trans Essential snare. and it's got a bit of EQ on that. It was almost pretty much gated as it was, so yeah, there's not much effects going on there really. Pretty simple stuff. Got some hats here. Quite nice. It's like echo on it. Just makes it like roll a little bit, the tune. Open hi-hat. Right, simple. I like stuff like this. I think this came from maybe a loop which I've edited on machine. I have a machine controller and software. Or maybe I used it from Stylus. I'm not sure, I can't remember, but just has that nice texture to the mix of the drums and the loop. So altogether, all the drums sound like this. With the kick. Down here I have some effects drums. So it's pretty simple stuff like snare roll. This is actually a free plugin I've got, which does a nice flange effect. Some crashes. When I'm doing transitions, I like to make renders. Basically, I'll put a load of plugins on a drum bus like this, and then make renders from it. So, for example, I'll show you. On here we have flanges, distortion, filters, and all together they make kind of like a nice mushy transition sound when you apply them to the drum loops. So this is why these drums are muted, and I have this track called Mad Drum Echo. So if we listen to this and these drums combined, you should hear what I mean. I think stuff like that really makes like a tune stand out, just the extra attention to detail. So it's the transition isn't just, you know, a generic snare roll or whatever. You know, you can do more with drums and different sounds. So as all the synths filter down as well in this section, the drums are also doing something pretty special too. So let's do it all together. Maybe you can notice all the different elements which are changing. Stuff like that helps to prove the you know, the quality of the record. I think it's just attention to detail things I like to do. So in the extended mix there was also an acid sound in the intro. It doesn't really feature in the album version because there's not really any space. The album version was just the quite ethereal intro, does the main body of the tune, and then goes back out to some pads on the intro. The extended mix, we have this sound. That's made with a few of these layers here. I'm just going to load them up. This one in particular is one of my favorites. It's from Serum again. Got a nice overdriven acid sound. Structure wise, I didn't really have any vocal in the intro. Often I have the verse in the intro parts, but as me and Siskin kind of developed the record together and made the vocal all sit as one, you know, from verse to chorus in one kind of passage, I didn't feel like I needed to change any of that. So The album version starts with the spacey intro pads and moves into the vocal, and the extended mix has these sounds in it. We move into these chord changes here. So the pads start. This is like where we blend together what would have been the album version and this extended mix. So you start to hear some of these intro sounds from the album version blend into those intro beats, the piano starts, all the atmospheres and ambient sounds. Just a simple kick roll, filters down, nice and smooth. All these hi-hats and things that are filtered down here. Then
Let the cold winds blow
the vocal.
and the lightning strike.
That just sits on top of these atmospheres.
Everything full.
We just have a solid bass note there.
Say,
Pretty simple stuff.
while waters above.
Introduce the first pluck, the very first part of the track which I sent to Siskin. He's there. Moving into the arpeggiator. Build up. Then it slams home. Yeah, so there we go. That is my little walkthrough of All for Love. Okay guys, thank you for tuning into this vlog. Before we wrap it up today with a bit of the music video, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that supported my album and my single releases recently. Of course, it's not been the easiest time to promote a record. It's a very strange time for the entertainment industry, you know, with no shows, no live work, and a lot of uncertainty about when that will kick back up, hopefully as soon as it possibly can. So yeah, so thank you for sticking with me, thank you for supporting my music. I read all your comments about the music which I'm releasing on social media, and it's been amazing, so thank you. And the album is of course available everywhere, as is the merchandise. If any of it takes your fancy, just hit up the link that is in my bio and on all my socials, basically Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. The next one is going to be about green screening and how I made these live video sets that you've seen recently, where it looks basically like I'm in space, which is not the easiest thing to do when you just have the limitations of your own home. So I'm going to show you guys how that was created, and yeah, it's going to be pretty funny because it's not all roses, it doesn't always go to plan. Okay, so as mentioned, wrapping this little vlog up with some footage from the music video for All for Love, which is mainly a lyric video, but it's also got some really cool clips in there as well. We weren't able to obviously go outdoors and film a full music video like we did with Time Machine. Luckily we got the Time Machine video done before lockdown happened, only just as well. But yeah, this is the video for All for Love. I hope you guys like it, and thanks again for tuning in, and see you next time.